May 10th, 1996 was a normal night for Leon Laureles. He was getting ready for his midnight shift at the local Kroger. According to his family, he left the house at 11:30 p.m., which was normal for him when working his shift, as he wanted to show up a little early to spend some time socializing with his friends at work. Later that night, eyewitnesses called the police regarding a car that was engulfed in flames on FM 2126 about 5 miles outside of Brownwood, Texas. When officers arrived, they found Leon with a gunshot wound to his head. This case is 26 years old and remains unresolved to this day. I am Eric Carter-Landin, and this is Advocacy, a True Consequences production. As usual, we're going to start off this episode by discussing who Leon was and what he meant to his family. Juan Leon Laureles was born on January 3rd, 1966 in Mason County, Texas. He was the seventh child and the last child in the family. Leon spent his teenage years caring for his parents as they were ill and elderly. Because his siblings were much older than him, he ended up being the caregiver to his folks as they aged and dealt with health issues. Let's listen to Leon's niece Arlene as she discusses her uncle. I also want to point out that Arlene and Leon were only 3 years apart, even though she was his niece, and they were closer in age than Leon and any of his siblings, so they became very close to each other, essentially becoming siblings to one another, and they even went to the same high school. Let's listen to Arlene now.
Can you tell me a little bit about Leon? Tell me about who he was, what he meant to you, what he meant to your family, any information you'd like to share.
Yes, Leon was the youngest of his siblings, and they were much older than him. I was the oldest of mine, and so because of that, he and I grew up more like brother and sister, and we were very close. We were also like very shy, and we were kind of treated differently than our siblings, so that kind of put us even more closer with each other because of that. We grew up pretty much, doing everything together in the high school. We played in the band together, so we'd go to football games together. Um, we used to listen to music. He had kind of like a jukebox, and so we would just, listen and dance. And then when I became a teenager, he and I would go to the local dance hall and on Saturdays, and we'd dance. It was Mexican music, and I don't really understand Spanish, but it was music that was the only place we had to go and dance. So we did that together. And then when I had my son, he helped me raise him while I was going through a divorce. So he would watch my son while I worked, and we lived in an apartment in San Angelo. And then later I moved to Brownwood, and I had 2 more children. So he moved in with us so that he could watch them as well. And that's why he started working at Kroger during the midnight shift, so that he could watch my kids during the day and so that I could work. And so we did that for a few years. Leon was this kind of person that anybody would be lucky to have in their lives. He is the one that taught my children how to write their name, their ABCs, their numbers, their colors, and he loved my kids like they were his own. And my oldest was the one that got to spend the most time with him. So he was 10 years old when Leon passed away, and I'm so happy to know that he has really fond memories with Leon. The other 2 were younger, of course, but my oldest does remember him very well. And I was just blessed to have him in my life. And then he moved in with his brother, who lives just like 8 miles out of Brownwood. And I guess at that time, Leon was, coming into his own and wanted to express that he was gay, want to explore that. So he made new friends, and I was busy with 3 boys and working. So I was happy for him, and I didn't pry too much into his new life because I thought, wow, he's finally getting to, have fun like a normal person, because he didn't have that on his childhood, or in his teenage years. He was too busy taking care of his elderly parents that were in bad health. And so he didn't get a normal childhood. We didn't get to, go out and party and do normal teenage stuff. So I was very happy for him. And I didn't really know all of his friends, the new friends that he had. And, now I wish I had.
That must have been really exciting for him, but probably also kind of scary considering that we're talking about West Texas. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like there in Brownwood and in West Texas in relation to being gay?
Yeah, we grew up with a strong Catholic Latino family from a small conservative town. So, you didn't come out, you didn't talk about it. And so, I knew he was gay because, we were always together. I never asked him. It was just one of those things that I knew. And he knew that I knew. So we didn't talk about it. But I can't imagine how hard it was for him. Um, Not just being gay, but wanting to find someone, to date and be with in a town like that, when it's so frowned upon and still is to this very day. And so I imagine it was very, very hard for him. And I didn't understand that at the time. And I wish I had, talked to him a little bit about it. But we're also from a family that you just don't talk about your feelings, you don't talk about your problems. So it just, we never did. I would like to share with people about Leon's personality. He was one of those people that didn't think of himself. He thought of others always first. And he was a very selfless person, very giving, very kind. He was a very caring person and wanted to take care of everyone all the time, from his parents, his siblings, his nieces and nephews, and then my children and his coworkers, his friends. He was always doing for them, buying them gifts, and, always there when they needed somebody to, lean on. He was just that type of a sweet person. I know everyone thinks that their loved one is that way, but he really was the sweetest person that you would ever meet. He was shy, he was kind, he was very soft spoken, even though he was a big guy. And that kind of just, made him even sweeter. And so a lot of people were drawn to him, and they always speak highly of him and always tell me like what a wonderful person he was. And they also tell me that he used to talk about me a lot because he loved me so much. And that kind of is one of those things that makes you happy and sad at the same time, But he used to love cooking because basically he had to cook for himself. But that was one of the things he loved to do. He would just make up his own recipes, and he could pretty much make anything. And it was really, really good. And it's now I want to make them, but it was one of those things, a recipe wasn't written down, so I can't recreate them. But I have fond memories of our holidays with me and him cooking. Those are the best memories I have of him, is with our family time during the holidays. And he loved music, and his favorite was Madonna. And so we would listen to Madonna all the time because he had her album. It was just little things like that that we connected that I didn't know were so special at that time. And now I wish we had more of those.
Leon graduated in 1985 and moved in with Arlene and her son in order to help her get through her divorce. Leon was working the midnight shift at Kroger so he could help take care of Arlene's kids during the day while Arlene was working. Eventually, Leon moved out of Arlene's home and moved in with his brother so that he could help take care of him. His older brother George was living in Bangs, Texas at the time, which is where Leon was living on the night that he was killed.
Leon told my aunt, now that's the sister that was closest to him in age, that somebody was after him and he didn't know why.
So now, I want to take you through the timeline of what happened to Leon Laureles. On May 3rd, 1996, Leon was sitting in his 1988 Thunderbird in the Blockbuster video parking lot across the street from the Kroger in Brownwood, Texas. Leon's cousin noticed that he was waiting and decided to ask him what he was up to. Leon told his cousin that a highway patrolman had threatened to kill him if he ever saw him with his daughter again. This would be the first death threat that Leon would disclose to his family. On May 8th, he told his coworker Lisa that he was being harassed and threatened. On May 9th, Leon disclosed this to his sister. He said that 2 men were after him and he didn't know why. According to family, Leon left for work at about 11:30 p.m. and drove the 6 miles from his home in Bangs to the Kroger grocery store in Brownwood. Coworkers shared that they did see Leon's Thunderbird in the parking lot sometime between 11:30 p.m. and 11:50 p.m., but Leon never showed up for his midnight shift. And if you recall, Leon even left his home early that night so that he could socialize with his friends before his shift started. One coworker claimed that they looked out at the parking lot at 12:01 and noticed that Leon's car was gone. This person called Leon's older brother George because she knew that something was wrong. Leon's brother left the house immediately and took the route that Leon would have taken to get to work, but didn't see him or his car along the way. Sometime between 11:50 p.m., when coworkers noticed his car, and 12:27 a.m., when the first 911 call was made about a burning Thunderbird, someone took Leon presumably by force or threat to Farm to Market Road 2126 near the rifle range outside of Brownwood, Texas. The rifle range would be the perfect place to shoot someone because people nearby are accustomed to hearing gunshots. Also, this stretch of road is extremely remote and surrounded by farmland and is about 5 miles away from Leon's job. Whoever led Leon here picked this place for a reason. At approximately 12:27 a.m., a phone call came into the Brownwood 911 dispatch about a car on fire on Farm to Market Road 2126, a rural area near the gun range. When the fire department and police arrived about 30 minutes later, the flames were extinguished and the body of 30-year-old Leon Laureles was found lying face down in the dirt about 6 feet from his car. Police believed that he was shot execution style and was left about 6 feet from the car, and then the car was set on fire. At 12:30 a.m., a second call was made to 911 by a person who was driving home from work. They noted that there was a body about 20 feet from the vehicle. One of the callers claimed that there was a late 70s model Ford truck with tinted windows, either a flatbed or no bed, chrome mirrors, and a gooseneck trailer hitch. A witness also claimed that they saw a pickup truck near Leon's car. The truck was described as two-tone off-white and red pickup truck. The sheriff's office even put out a bolo for the truck, as was described by the witnesses who found the burning 1988 Ford Thunderbird. Here are some strange details to note related to the case. Leon's Bell's credit card was used by someone else after he was killed. Unfortunately, there was no video evidence, so it's unclear who exactly had his credit card. I also want to note that this credit card was the one that Leon would use to buy his loved ones gifts. He would even loan the card to friends if they ever needed anything. This was the type of person that Leon was: generous, loving, and kind. Another strange thing was that the driver's seat of the Thunderbird wasn't in the position that it normally would be for him when he drove, because he usually had the seat all the way back. This is because Leon was a larger man and would need the space. Now, this could indicate that the seat was moved or that someone else had been driving the car and took it to the gun range on Farm to Market Road 2126. In the 1990s, things were different for LGBTQ people. Marriage equality was only a dream, and many people in the general public did not support same-sex marriage. According to Statista.com, public approval for legalizing gay marriage was at 27% in 1996 in the US. Today, that number is over 70%. The 90s were also a time when homophobia was the norm. It was not acceptable to be an out gay man, especially in West Texas. There is still a significant amount of homophobia today in Brown County, which often leads to the question, if Leon was not a gay man, would more have been done to investigate his murder? According to the FBI in 2018, LGBTQ plus people comprised 4.5% of the general population of the United States, but they made up 18.5% of hate crime victims. In 2018, there were 1,347 hate crimes targeting LGBTQ plus individuals in the US. It's important to note that this is just what was reported. This doesn't include any of the cases that didn't get reported. And if you live in a small rural community, You may not want to report being attacked, as it could out you to the community, which could be very dangerous and sometimes deadly. The following is from Equality, Texas. In 2001, the Texas legislature passed the James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Act. The act allows trial courts to impose stiffer penalties for crimes committed due to bias against the victim's real or perceived race, religion, color, sex, disability, sexual preference, age, or national origin. There are no similar protections available for victims of crime because of bias against the victim's gender identity or expression. I also want to read you a little snippet from the Equality Texas website regarding hate crimes in Texas. I'll be reading this verbatim. Texas led the United States in hate-related homicides against LGBTQ people, which jumped by 86% from 2016 to 2017. 7 Texans were murdered, including 3 in Houston, 2 gay Asian men who were targeted on a dating site, and 1 transgender woman of color. So while attitudes have changed in the United States, there are still areas, like Texas, where things are still very bad for LGBTQ plus individuals. There are a few theories about what happened to Leon on that tragic May night. There are people who claim that Leon was robbed. And someone did take his credit card and use it after the murder, but the family believed that this attack was motivated by Leon's sexual orientation. There were rumors that Leon was dating a man in secret and had been trying to convince his partner to go public with their relationship. It's impossible to know for sure if this is why Leon was targeted, but really any of these theories could be plausible. The bottom line is, no matter what the motivation for the murder was, what happened after was unjust. The family has been waiting for 26 years to get justice for Leon. It hasn't been an easy fight. Arlene has been working hard to get as much attention on Leon's case as possible. She even was able to get a billboard put up thanks to a generous donation. The billboard asks for information regarding Leon's murder. In 2002, William Deere, a PI with an impressive resume, took the case but then quit suddenly. Apparently, people were making threats against him. He was paid by the family, but the family never received any of the files. In 2005, a cold case unit was added to the Texas Rangers and Leon's case was assigned to Nick Hanna. In 2008, the Rangers announced that they had a person of interest in the case. Ranger Bobby Grubbs stated that he knew who did it and he felt that they could secure an indictment but wasn't sure that they would be able to get a conviction. So the family continued to wait. In 2014, police claimed that they had strong leads in the case. In 2016, Arlene was told that the main suspect had taken his own life. And then in 2020, the case was reopened. But 2 years have passed and there have been no arrests and no charges brought for the killing of Leon Laureles. Let's listen to Arlene as she discusses what you can do to help her in her fight for justice and for her uncle, Leon.
You can help by sharing and liking Leon's Facebook page, which is Justice for Leon Laureles. And we also have a GoFundMe that I'd like to hire an attorney to help me, retrieve some of the records that I'm not allowed to have and put up a memorial there in Brownwood. We also I just had a bulletin put up in Brownwood. So if you know anything, please contact Crime Stoppers. The number's on the billboard. And yes, on Facebook, I have Justice for Leon Laureles. And also at Twitter, it's Justice for Leon 1.
Awesome. Okay, so if you want to help support the cause, you can donate to the GoFundMe to help get an attorney involved in this case, as well as following on social media.
The more I can get the story out there, hopefully more coverage will happen and maybe somebody will speak up, because that's the only way this case is going to be solved.
Yeah.
Because law enforcement didn't do any investigation. They didn't keep any evidence.
That's just so messed up and so wrong.
Yeah, like they literally basically told me that they didn't keep anything. So I'm trying also to raise money so that I can have his body exhumed so that I can get, testing on it, because I don't think that he even had an autopsy.
Thank you so much, Arlene, for your time today and for sharing Leon's story with me.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I have listened to all of your podcasts and I'm a big supporter of everything you do. And I feel, like I said, a real connection with you, because you do kind of remind me of Leon too. And your story, of course.
Really, really honored to be able to do this and to help you.
I appreciate you guys so, so much.
Thanks for listening and stay safe.